So what's going on today?
Not too much, honestly. Um, I've mostly played Supermarket Simulator.
Uh, Lower Decks is to come to an end,
It is. Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be season 5 is the last season. That's due out in the fall this year.
which is like soon.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I guess is five the new standard?
I think it's becoming it. I mean, is it most stuff
A lot of
at
things
5 now?
are. Yeah, I mean, like outside of Star Trek, even five seems to be a pretty round number for a TV show to last. But yeah, so Discovery 5 seasons, Lower Decks 5 seasons, Picard three,
Yeah.
Strange New Worlds we don't know. Am I forgetting about something? Prodigy one.
Prodigy is got a season 2 that was planned last I knew. We haven't heard any more
Oh
since
yeah,
then.
yeah. It was like I don't even know if it was announced. Announced. It was like they were like, oh yeah, we sold that shit to Nickelodeon. No, no, to Netflix.
Yeah, and Netflix hasn't
I don't
spoken
think
on
I
it
don't
much.
think they've said anything. Yeah. Um, I guess that's
And we
okay.
got we've got Section 31 that's planned to be released
Oh,
next year as well.
that's a film.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Starfleet Academy is due
Oh,
in a little bit more than a month
wait,
at,
is
at the time of recording.
that's a series?
I've got a note about a Starfleet Academy due May of this year.
But we don't know what it is.
I'm double checking. I've written down season 1, but I haven't looked into it since then, so I don't know.
It seems a little. I'm not positive how I feel about the next like main universe movie just being called Section 31.
I'm
Not
down for
even
that.
not even the content of it. I'm down for a spy movie. I think that's fine. I think Philippa Giorgio or whatever her name is cool. Uh I don't know if like I don't know, I just don't think that title pops.
I think it's fine, honestly. I,
Yeah,
I think
okay.
the big downside that's going to into it is people don't know what they're talking about, right?
Yeah,
So like
exactly. Yeah.
the average viewer isn't going to know what they're going into, whereas like a Star Trek fan will. I think it might be a little bit too tongue in cheek, like nods to just the fandom, fan servicey or whatever you want to call the word. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's too fan specific.
Sure. Yeah. Yes. I agree with that. Do you feel like it's esoteric would have been a good word. Oh man, wow. My train of thought just went right off the cliff.
That was me
Sorry.
from the future.
Do you feel like it's sort of along the lines of the TV shows kind of being not I guess wow. I was gonna say kind of being named after ships, and then I started saying like DS9, but like DS9 and Voyager and Enterprise and Discovery, like three of those are ships, and one of them is kind of the place or what you would call the group of people, maybe.
But then you've got Lower Decks, TNG, you've got Strange
Yeah,
New Worlds, Picard. None of those are named after any ships. So I don't think that really matters. If that
I
makes sense.
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I was about to say that calling it Section 31 is almost falls into those lines
But we have
because
Starfleet Academy coming out too, right? Which is the same idea.
that almost falls into so not ships. Ships is not what I was saying because
Okay.
DS9 is not a ship.
No,
I don't think what I'm saying makes a lot of sense actually.
I'm having trouble finding what you're trying to say. Yes.
I guess I'm sort of saying like the title of the show sometimes describes a crew or a group of people, and you could almost say Section 31 is a group of people, like the people who staff DS9 is. Yeah, it's not. It's very vague. Whatever I was saying was incredibly vague connection. I don't like the title.
That's fair. You don't have to like it. I think it might be, like I said, a little bit too fan specific. And again,
Exactly.
I don't have a good word for that other than fan
Yeah.
specific. I know what I mean. I don't know how to be clear about what I mean, but it feels like it's in that vein a little bit too much.
Yes.
I don't know. Too fan servicey with again. That's not the right word for it, but that's the word that's coming to mind, unfortunately.
So what's up with the menagerie?
So the Menagerie is it's a two-part episode. So it's
First one.
yep, our viewing episodes of episodes 11 and 12, which we've planned on doing together. So this is like a big bonus, chunky episode.
Unless a meteor strikes or something in the middle of it, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Both of them were directed by Mark Daniels and Robert Butler. Both were written by Gene Roddenberry, and they aired November 17th and 24th of 1966, with an 8.2 and 8.1 out of 10 each.
All right. This is and this is people seem to like this one, and these ones are super classics.
These are ones that people actually know the names of.
Yeah,
I know
right.
I actually know which episodes these are by their names alone. There's like 5 episodes of all of Star Trek that I could do that for. This is one of them.
What are some of the other ones?
Well, Timeless we've talked about in the past.
Sure.
Trials and Tribulations. Trouble with Tribbles. The obvious, like the big ones.
The Tribble ones.
Yeah.
Encounter at Farpoint.
Of course.
The Caretaker.
I wouldn't be able to tell you what episode that is.
The Caretaker?
I do not know which episode that is by name. I'd have to look it up.
That is the premiere.
I'm going to assume it's the Voyager intro episode because that makes the most sense. But
is it a 2-episode, like 2-parter? It might be.
I think it is.
The Caretaker parts 1 and 2.
I think so. But no, my point is that that's me knowing it from.
Sure.
Being able to just make a logical guess. I don't actually know it. You know what I mean?
We're gonna have...
Voyager's episode 1 and 2 are Caretaker part 1 and 2.
So Pike is gonna be in the weird chair where he beeps at people.
Yes.
And this is about going back to Talos, and this is about why no one's allowed to go to Talos. I don't know if in the cage it was determined, like, because Starfleet says no one's allowed to go to Talos.
Yeah.
That area of space is... Do they do that? Does that get decreed in the cage, or...
I don't remember when that gets decreed.
Maybe we'll mention it during these 2 episodes, and we'll find out more about what's so big and bad about Talos. This all figures in a lot into Discovery Season 2 and Strange New Worlds, everything we're about to see.
Yeah, now most of the reason this got made at all was because they had all the leftover footage from the cage that they wanted to be able to use.
Oh, is
my understanding.
Is this like a retconning of the cage story that now, or I don't know when Pike gets fucked up?
My understanding is that they did this because when the show originally aired, the cage wasn't aired.
I think so. They wanted to
make use of that production, right? So that they didn't just waste all that time and money. So they made an episode that would be able to use it in some way. But that being said, I don't know past that. It's just that's my understanding of it, is that this was to be able to use the sets and the footage that they had already done and all that stuff, and imply that this was much further ahead of time than where the actual show is, right?
All right, this is my prediction.
Okay.
I think that, if you recall, there was a girl on Talos who they didn't know how to put back together, and they used the illusion machine to make her look like a pretty young lady.
Yes.
I think that what is going to happen in the episodes we're about to watch is that Pike is going to leave Talos just as he left in the cage, and then some terrible accident is going to occur somewhere else, and he's going to be on Earth going, now that I can't walk or move and I have to communicate with beeps, I got to get Kirk to come here and bring me to Talos, where
he's on trial.
Pike is?
I thought Pike was on trial in this episode. Maybe I'm not remembering the episode very well.
I mean, he might be. It might be kind of like, maybe he's on trial for going back to Talos, which is forbidden. Is it like the I want to say Far Cry, the Futurama episode?
Spock abducts his former commander, Christopher Pike, locks the Starship Enterprise on a course to the forbidden planet Talos 4, and turns himself in for court-martial, where he presents an elaborate story explaining his actions.
All right.
So that is the briefest of explanations, like the 2-line synopsis off the internet. So
I think that Spock is not kidnapping, but he's taking Pike back to Talos because there he can live with the pretty girl and have an illusion body, because now his body's been destroyed.
Maybe that's what it is. I remember there was a lot of well, as was mentioned, like this is one of the more parodied episodes of the
Exactly.
series, right?
Yeah,
But
not
like,
just Futurama.
yeah, no, everyone does this.
The beeping, the guy in the metal chair beeping.
Yep. It's one of the most iconic the original series like moments. Period. But no,
You know about like
I remember there being a court martial or something. So that's probably the trial from Spock turning himself in. That I've got in my head.
you know about Doctor Who.
I know some of Doctor Who. I'm only on like season 2 or 3 of David Tennant.
Okay, do you know about Daleks? Is that what
Yeah, I
I'm
know who
thinking of?
Daleks are.
Is that what Pike's wheelchair looks like? He's not in a wheelchair. He's in, for anyone who has somehow not seen this or any reference to it, he's in a metal column, kinda. Does it look like a Dalek with a human head on it?
No, it does not.
Oh, Daleks are not the things that are kind of like
Daleks are like
metal cones that roll
they,
around.
they are, but they don't to me look anything like what Pike looks like. Honestly, there's an at-home spa thing you could do like that
Yeah.
gets played. Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. Is that at-home spa thing on a wheelchair?
Okay. He's kind of in a metal cone. Let's watch it.
Okay. No.
Okay, I'm hitting record.
Captain,
I totally had a different image
remember
in
these
my head
gentlemen.
of the
I
chair.
wanted to visit you.
I wasn't even picturing his shoulders. I wasn't picturing any kind of chair shape. I was just picturing his head on a column. I don't know why.
I thought
So-
you might make an exception for them.
Hello, and welcome back to the Least Ready Room. Yeah, this one is going to be about the Menagerie, and this is a podcast where Dave and Chris, I'm Dave, watch every episode of Star Trek, and most often talk about it with Weebs or Thrash or Saint or any of the other people that do podcasts with me and us and hang around on my Discord. So today we're going to talk about the Menagerie, which is a weird recycled sort of episode that uses a lot of clips from an episode we've already talked about. And yeah, this one is just going to be me and Chris. We're gonna watch it and we're gonna express our opinions about it. And yeah, this podcast comes out every Sunday. You can join us here to listen along, or you can hang out with us on Discord and answer our question of the week. I'm not sure what the question of the week this week is. Oh, it's going to be about Shakespeare. It's going to be like, what is your favorite Shakespeare adaptation? Or, I'm getting a little confused because the following episode, Balance of Terror, is going to have to do with a backdoor adaptation, like an adaptation that takes the story but puts it into a completely different context. I don't have an example right now, but I had 3 of them when I was thinking about this earlier. But anyway, that's the question of the week for next week. This question of the week is going to be, yeah, it's going to be like, what is your favorite Shakespeare play or quote? And also, did they make you memorize a speech from Shakespeare in high school like they made me do? I'll word it a little bit better. Yeah, I wish I had some examples of backdoor adaptations. Not that it matters. Man, oh yeah. Well, we have Over the Garden Wall, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, and 10 Things I Hate About You. Those were the 3 things. So a backdoor adaptation is when, if you've ever heard one say, oh yeah, 10 Things About You, it's actually the story of Taming of the Shrew, And I'm sure there's plenty of things that are Romeo and Juliet, but called something else. What was Romeo Must Die? This is next week, because the next episode that we're going to talk about, which is Balance of Terror, which that's a full episode where we have Saint on the whole time with me and Chris. And one of Saint's favorite episodes, a very good episode of the original series. Very excited to talk about that. But that one is based on a short story about submarines, which maybe The Hunt for Red October is also based on, or maybe we were just talking about that. And I'm actually supposed to watch The Hunt for Red October with Weebs because I've never seen it. So all of the things I'm talking about are things have to do with next week and even the following episode. Because I'm incorrect. Yeah, because really, the next episode we're going to talk about is Conscience of the King, which has to do with Shakespeare. And this week's question of the week, which we will get to at the end of the episode, is your favorite line, quote, speech, or work of Shakespeare. And also, did you have to memorize? Is there something you memorized? Did you have to memorize it in high school like I did? I had to memorize. We're going to talk about it. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about it during Conscience of the King, which we'll have Thrash on. But that's the one coming up next, and it's going to have Thrash. Boy, wow, I really should have all these numbers in front of me at this point, because now I'm just rambling about what's going on. Anyway, here comes the Menagerie. We're going to talk about Shakespeare at the end. Actually, we're going to talk about the question of the week, which had to do with which starship you would like to serve on. Well, then I will ask a question about Shakespeare. Then next week we will talk about Shakespeare, and during the week, people on my Discord will answer the question about Shakespeare, and I will read those answers next week. That's how it works. That's a very poor description of how this podcast works in conjunction with my Discord, where it is produced. But there's the info. I'm gonna leave it in. Let's go. Yeah, do they show like a few shots from the episode and then the like? Let's see if we see Baylock. Yeah, Meg Wiley as the keeper. Or this one they might just be showing.
I feel like the theologian shows up at the end of every episode.
Really?
Yeah, the picture of the theologian, yeah. That slide does not show up at every episode. Also, I love that you can see that the camera is like whoever's holding the picture isn't holding it steady.
Yeah. That might have been special for
this one, yeah.
The Cage. So that's an episode of Star Trek where Spock mutiny, or is he a mutineer, or he takes control of the ship and he forces everyone to watch an episode of Star Trek.
On Star Trek, yeah.
Yeah. Like I told you, they've been watching a lot of TNG on Discovery.
Yeah, you mentioned.
We talked about how it's a trope now when someone is going to watch either security footage or, some archival footage of something or something, and they put it on and it's just the same footage from the show or movie that you saw when it was happening.
Yeah, whenever you actually watch the episode.
As though the TV camera was a security camera all along, and this is all found footage, and TNG is a holodeck program just like Enterprise was.
You heard it here first, folks.
One time, yeah, as you know, Riker
was totally was Thomas Riker just running TNG as a thing. Not even Will, it's his clone.
Okay, you think... Okay.
Yeah, if you're going to call out that it is a hologram program similar to what Enterprise was, I am calling out that it's not Riker, it's his clone Riker.
It's Thomas, and that's why Riker is so over top in the show, because it's Thomas Riker trying to live this paradisical life that he feels Will Riker had. Yeah, I buy it. Yeah. And then, and he got so stressed out one time he had to go into the... So did Will or Tom have to take a break from his old boss to go watch 4 seasons of Enterprise on the holodeck?
It's all Tom.
It's
Will
all
Riker,
Tom. The whole thing is
yeah.
Tom.
Yeah.
We've never met Will Riker.
Will Riker does not exist.
Love it. Great. Well, he did. The episodes, although even the episodes where he meets Will is still him in being Will. So that's a hollow Tom. In the actual episode that's actually on TNG that we see. But it's actually Tom playing Will. Okay, that's quite
It feels really Star Trek, doesn't it?
it's quite elaborate and layered and can get convoluted.
And there's total like a million holes for plot. So
it occurred to me that we don't really find out what they're watching because they talk. Well, I mean, I guess if spoiler alert for the end of this episode, these 2 episodes, if the Admiral's an illusion, I suppose we can imagine that the whole episode that they're watching, the cage, the version of the cage that they are watching, is also an illusion being sent from Talos. If they can send illusions so far out that, the entire time. Was that Admiral that Kirk was with, was he an illusion back on Starbase 11?
I don't know.
How long did this deception go on?
It feels like at least since Kirk left there. I don't know if he went.
Right.
I don't know if the Admiral or whatever was actually. I think he would have been back at the base specifically, and then Kirk gets in a shuttle on his own with the illusion Admiral rather than the actual Admiral at that point. I think that's what's being implied.
I believe so too, and I believe that so probably because they actually mention, like when Spock puts the cage on the TV, and is it the Admiral that says, "How could you possibly have this recording?" They all kind of talk about it.
But the Admiral's like, our technology's not good enough for this. He's like straight up. He's like, this isn't how our CCTV works.
The Talosian plant points out that the recording is too good to be real, which
is a clue to us, the audience, that this is not real, which doesn't clue in. I'm going to be honest, it's too subtle of a clue.
It's a little strange because you would think that. Well, anyway, there's illusions and deceptions going on, and a big reveal at the end of this episode, and people at this time had not seen the cage, and they had never seen a 2-part Star Trek episode either. This is... I mean, I don't know if it counts.
It counts as a 2-part Star Trek episode.
You do? You think so?
Yeah, no, 100%. It might be meant as a 2-hour movie in like a lot of headspaces, but it is a 2-parter. It is a part 1 and a part 2. It was aired 2 separate weeks. Like, it's not even like, I think some of the later ones, specifically the one that comes to mind for me is TNG series finale was a 2-parter, but they aired it when it first aired. It aired back to back.
Right.
That is not a 2-part episode. That is a long episode.
Okay.
In my head, but if you're gonna have it where you literally are airing it on 2 different weeks,
right? That's what this was.
Yeah, it was aired on the 17th and the 26th, I think, or whatever.
All right. Yep.
The 17th and 24th. Sorry, apparently I can't math. But anyway, so this was aired as 2 parts on 2 separate weeks. So therefore, to me at least, that's a true 2-parter.
Okay. I guess why I'm not sure if it's a 2-parter is because it's a clip show.
Yeah, well, clip shows...
I'm aware that no one had seen the 1 hour of reused content, but for me, I don't know if this counts as a 2-part episode, because really... the new content I've seen is probably not even a whole episode.
It's the majority of the cage, I'm pretty sure.
It's like, I mean, we seriously, Spock sits everyone down and we watch the cage. That's what happens in these 2 episodes. Yeah.
And a couple of times he's like, no, guys, seriously, sit your ass back down. We're not done yet. There's still more TV.
That's the clip parts. The parts where it comes back is everyone's like, okay, can we stop watching this weird transmission illusion? And Spock's like, nope, let's keep watching. And they go right back into it. So they break it up, and it's, it's the cage again. Which
I get it. But again, like you said, and as we said before, this was never aired. So to me, especially because it's not for the viewer, when the item was initially put out, it was new content. It is not a clip show. It's only a clip show now because we've seen, and the original pilot has been separately. You know what I mean? So no, this is a 2-parter non-clip show episode, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess it's just weird. It's weird now that I've
Yeah,
seen The Cage, and now I'm watching it again 11
yeah,
episodes later. Yeah.
yep. But no,
So
it's
that
good.
yeah.
I mean, The Cage was a decent episode. I feel like the breaks in it definitely, because when we watched The Cage, like as much as it's a foundational episode, like it was kind of, it was good, but it dragged a bit, and I feel like the breaks did help with a lot of that pacing that there was missing in The Cage.
Yeah. I like seeing You know what? I liked checking it on Kirk being all nervous about the Starfleet death penalty for going to the human slave planet.
Yeah, which why does Starfleet have the death penalty?
Because the Telosians are going to raise an army of human slaves if you go there.
But it
They're,
feels out of.
it is weird. These bad guys are going to kidnap you and keep you in a cage. So nobody go there. And if you do, we'll fucking kill you. But even just the idea of a Starfleet death penalty it doesn't jive.
It doesn't jive. No,
Yeah.
it feels out of.
That's not something they do.
Yeah, it feels out of character. There's what I was looking for. It feels out of character for an organization that is meant about, like, the whole point of it is, exploration and yeah, they're a military
Peace, love,
organization,
unity.
but yeah, it's complete peace, love, unity, lack of scarcity. Sorry, of scarcity of anything. Like, it's post scarcity. Like, they come off like they're supposed to be better than that, and then fuck it, you did something we don't like. We're gonna just murder you. Like, that doesn't jive for me.
Yeah. This was there was a little more of the kind of military element in maybe all of TOS, but maybe in these early episodes. But still, it's just when we think, and they probably didn't have all of Star Trek's ideals and stuff. I'm sure Roddenberry was going around going, "No humans can have a conflict," although we almost do in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Although that admiral turns out to be an illusion. We haven't really talked about what happens, but really what happens is Spock makes everyone watch Star Trek. That's
Yeah. And I mean, if you're gonna make everyone watch Star Trek, at least he picked a good episode to watch, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool one with a So Spock receives a distress message. They're hanging out around Space Base 11, Starbase 11, and Spock gets a distress message from Captain Pike, who's been kept there, but this distress message, there's no way Captain Pike could have sent this distress message. He can only beep, and he's in a wheelchair that does not really look like a Dalek, but it's got some, he's in a metal sleeve. There was an explosion of delta rays, and he ran into like an orphanage to save like some children, and got so horrifically burned that he's trapped in his body and can only beep. And Spock is doing sabotage. He's got recordings. Did he have an AI impersonate William Shatner to do Kirk's voice to give fake orders to mutiny the ship? Spock's really the non-Cage part of this. A lot of it is Spock's very...
Spock being is a really good spy.
Yeah, he's really doing some spycraft. He's got recordings of Kirk. He's tampering with the communication systems on Starbase 11. He's knocking a guy out that comes and tries to stop him. And he's using these voice recordings to set up what looks like fake orders so he can grab Pike and get away while leaving Kirk behind. And they grab it. They take the Enterprise and they shoot off to Talos 4, which, Kirk is about to be handed... Please?
Those recordings might have been made by the Telosians.
Yeah, we don't.
It might just be. It just might be the Telosians using their telepathy powers at Starfleet people more.
Sure. I mean, he's got a whole plan with them, and part of the plan is to have a fake admiral, which really is just a distraction. The whole Kirk is left behind with a fake admiral. They give chase to Spock, and I mean, I've said it 1,000 times, but the reveal at the end of the episode is that there was no admiral. The trial was a sham to keep Kirk occupied while they made the final trip to Talos to drop off Pike so that he could live with Vina in imaginary illusions. And I guess they've agreed. I guess the Telosians kind of were like, well, these people are violent. We don't want them to be our slave army.
Yeah, I don't know about that part specifically. It feels like they still want humans to be their slave army, but just that they want to be able to control them a bit better. Like,
Yeah,
because
so
Ike was just violent in the dreams, but like they still wanted him back, right? So,
are they like, so now are they gonna,
well, I
are
mean, nothing
they,
ever comes up as far as I know in Star Trek where the Telosians rise up against the humans. So,
yeah,
even and we do take a long time to gestate and to train and do that internal breeding stuff. Given that we're not like 1 day life cycles, right? So I'd say it's going to be some time either way. Will they try to breed an army that's genetically diverse enough, whilst also being bred for that specific purpose and large enough? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of factors here.
yeah. And also, one of those factors might be, can Pike even procreate with the
which we
condition of his body?
which we will never know.
And we will never know. And I guess I gotta watch Discovery season 2. I really gotta find out how much our current Pike knows about this and what I was kind of talking about.
Mm-hmm.
About what exactly our current Pike's relationship to this story is, because he mentions it a few times as though he knows it is coming and he's gonna end up in this chair and do these things, but I don't think he's been to Talos the first time yet. But really, I should watch. It's Discovery season 2 is most of what I'm talking about. That's when Pike becomes a major character and we get some of his backstory.
I thought Pike was Strange New Worlds.
Yes, I mean he's the captain. That's an Enterprise show with the Enterprise going around and
Yeah.
pre-Kirk. But Discovery season 2, Pike was. They're on the Enterprise. They're on Pike's Enterprise in Discovery season 2, which is weird.
Okay.
Maybe Discovery is also around, and maybe they're going back and forth, or Mike. But Pike's Enterprise is a large plot point of Discovery season 2,
Okay.
and the stuff going on, and yeah, whatever time thing happens that causes Pike to know. That gives the writers a reason to talk about Talos. Basically, is from Discovery.
Okay.
And then there's like echoes of it in Strange New World when he's like, every now and again he talks about time travel or something, and he's like, yeah, in fact, maybe we should watch. There's a Strange New World episode that is like a remake slash. I mean, we can call it a remake of The Balance of Terror, the one that we watched with the Romulans. And
Right.
and it's actually some kind of time rift where like Pike is in the same situation and like man, I might be getting it wrong now that I think of it. I usually do. But there is something that might have to do with Balance of Terror, but it's something that we see how Kirk handles the situation and how Pike handles the situation. It might even be that like because Pike has avoided Talos, now he's on the Enterprise when Kirk should be there. This might be more. There is timeline shifting and fucking around going on with Pike. And I shouldn't say anymore because obviously I don't know.
You're right there.
Yeah. No, I don't. I honestly like. I've watched, obviously Discovery and Strange New Worlds, but I watched so much of it that, like anything else, like the lore kind of turns into a paste.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So yeah, I mean, and that's mostly what happens. It is revealed that the Admiral is an illusion, and they give Pike back to the Telosians. We commented when we were watching The Cage this time for the second time. We commented a lot about the sets and the costumes in that episode, which are really elaborate, and because they're not space costumes and probably were like around, they're pretty good looking. In the various Cage little bubble reality bits of it,
Well, yeah, no, we commented specifically about her dress and the barbarian costume.
Yeah, and
Vina. Yeah.
We talked a lot. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. I was saying, like, with Vina's dress and the barbarian's costume as well.
Yeah. And we talked a lot about Vina, who unfortunately the actress is no longer with us, but she apparently is more famous than I realized because she is known as the Green Girl, and they made a whole documentary about her impact on culture,
which we have talked about now. We might watch.
Yeah, I think we should. I think we should watch it soon.
I agree.
Okay, great.
Put it
We'll
on
figure
the
out.
put it on the list. Yeah.
All right. Do we have a list of extra media?
If you look in the spreadsheet,
Yep.
the last tab, notes on sheets edits
Oh,
and
great.
stuff.
Okay.
It's kind of just like the place I've been putting like everything of that type, right?
The Green Girl, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, yeah, boy. I bet there. Are there any? You know what? There's a bunch of like. I've watched a bunch of Star Wars documentaries, but I don't think I've watched like a real documentary even about like the fandom of Star Trek. Really,
There's something called Center Seat on Paramount, if I remember correctly.
is that the documentary about the making of TNG?
I don't know what that specifically is. It is a
Okay.
documentary about some part of Star Trek. I just don't remember the specifics. I remember seeing it. I just like not. I
Yeah.
remember seeing it on the page. I haven't watched it, and I don't remember what it was about 100%.
I've seen a documentary about the production of TNG, and it really kind of calls Gene Roddenberry a shithead throughout most of it.
From what I've heard, he kind of, as a human being, he was kind of a bit of an ass.
Yeah,
But
I think Nimoy really did not like him.
yeah, and there might have been some ism going on there. I can't guarantee it. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I don't know about. Yeah. Uh, I mean, I almost feel like both of those men might be Jewish men.
I don't know for sure, and I don't. I don't.
Yeah, let's not speculate.
Yeah, I don't. I know one is for sure. I'm not sure about the other.
Nimoy is Jewish.
Yeah, that's how we got
Okay.
the. That's how you get the Vulcan salute was straight up him as a kid.
Ah, right. Yes, 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 yes. That's correct. Okay, yeah, yeah. That's why I knew that. Yeah. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
no,
One more.
Roddenberry was not Jewish.
Okay. It almost the name Roddenberry almost sounds like I would have believed it.
Well, there's a. I haven't read the whole article, but the preview of it on Google for My Jewish Trek hyphen Jewish Journal as
Oh.
quote Gene was anti-Semitic, comma clearly end
Oh.
quote. By Nimoy replied as my heart sank. Quote, Roddenberry had Jewish associates. Bill and I were both Jewish, as were others. To be fair, Roddenberry, and then it continues. It's an 8-minute read. I haven't read it.
Okay. Okay. Well, there we
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Nimoy straight up called him anti-Semitic.
Wow. I have in a trunk or something around here. I have Shatner's autobiography, and
I've
in
never
it,
read that.
he straight up is like, I'm just gonna paste right here what Nimoy said about Roddenberry. And like he just doesn't even like, yeah, it's not even Shatner's ghostwriter or whatever. It's just like, here's a segment. This is what Roddenberry said about, or no, this is what
It's what
Nimoy's,
Nimoy says about
yeah,
him,
about
yeah.
Roddenberry, yeah. And I recall it being very flagrant.
Yeah.
So cool.
So yeah, there might have been an ism going on in there a little bit, with how Roddenberry was a little bit of an ass.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard negatives about him in that respect, but like he dreamt of a utopia, but he was still a dick kind of thing, you know?
Sure. So yeah, I'm definitely am down to watch The Green Girl and other Star Trek documentaries. Yeah, let's find out how this shit let's find out how this shit get made. I mean that was the synopsis. Spock gets them there after, stealing the ship and leaving Kirk behind, and once he's there, the computer has taken over, and the plan was set up between Spock and the Telosians, obviously, which is interesting. Did they contact him? Did Pike contact them? We don't really know how the plan got made, but it was a good plan. Because yes, the ship is under computer control until it gets there. Spock has done a great hacking and locked the commanders and the captain out, and he's like, arrest me, let's have a trial. And that's basically, the trial is them watching the cage, and then it's revealed that the admiral is imaginary, and the whole thing was just so they could distract Kirk. And then I guess the ending is Uhura receives a transmission that's like, hey, we're Starfleet, you went to the planet that we kill you if you go to, and we just wanted to say, because Spock is so smart and he did his Ocean's 11 heist of the whole ship, we're so impressed nobody has to get executed by Starfleet. Because that's not something we do anyway, right? If you think about it, it's only 11 episodes in. But by 1990, the idea of Starfleet executing someone is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, no,
and I think probably by next season, really,
Yeah, I feel like even at the time, people would have thought that was a bit odd.
Even by the time of the movies, yeah, and I mean, I just feel like, I feel like they haven't really nailed down the militaristic or semi-militaristic nature of Starfleet at this point, and
I feel like Starfleet definitely does evolve too between now and TNG. In that, This is a much more violent, much more actively hunting out threats type. Like, this feels American military a lot more. And TNG, just the way that Enterprise, like the Enterprise D is run, it feels a lot less American military.
Right.
I feel like diplomats first, and it is, I have to remind myself when I'm watching Star Trek that this is actually a military ship.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, from TNG on, it never feels that way.
The Enterprise D sure doesn't. It's got families and children and babies on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that is really a science vessel.
Yeah.
TOS is like the Wild West. Like, they don't even, like, the Federation and Earth doesn't know what they're going to encounter out here. They don't even know what a Romulan looks like.
Well, I mean, we don't really know what a Romulan looks like until TNG anyways. They changed them so heavily.
I guess that's, yeah. I guess, but lore-wise.
Yeah.
There's stuff out here, and, yeah, the galaxy has not been fully explored and tamed.
Not at all.
You need a man like James Tiberius Kirk out here on the edges of human existence. Depth charging those Romulans.
It's a good episode, though. I enjoy it. I honestly, I do think that it is better than the show it came off of. Yeah. I really do think this is a better show than The Cage was.
I think the wraparound actually, it makes it more interesting. The Spock espionage and stealing the ship is, a really cool way to kind of set up tension if you've never seen The Cage, or if you have. I mean, honestly, I think, you know what? Everything I said about not being sure if it counts as a two-parter or a clip show or whatever, I think this actually completes The Cage and makes it a more presentable story than what we first got.
Yeah, I agree. We're still supposed to not know who Pike is, so it's still supposed to be that intro episode-y stuff, the pilot of these characters in its own way, but because we have characters we actually know and care about in it, we're more invested in the episode than when you're watching The Cage on its own. Like, The Cage on its own, I'm not invested in anyone on that show. I don't know anyone. They're all just idiots running around like dumbasses. And then here, we know Spock, and we worry about Spock.
Watching The Cage the first time, Pike is so sad and hateful.
He is, but and I get that he had to do that, but it doesn't serve the character well. You know what I mean?
It doesn't. Yeah, there's no one to really latch onto in The Cage, maybe.
Yeah. Whereas here we've got, like I said, we care about Spock. We've developed a fondness for him at this stage, and now he might die, and that sucks. So we actually care about what's happening.
Man, and Starfleet likes him so much he can go and go to the one forbidden planet and steal a whole ship and lie to his captain and beat up a guy and commit forgery of military orders, and Starfleet says, "Wow, Spock, that was so clever of you. You can do whatever you want."
Well, shit.
Really, they're just... Yeah, I guess it's I'm not saying, why do we even have the death penalty if we're not going to execute Spock? But that is a very fast solution to the problem.
That's the fastest pardon I've ever heard of.
Yeah, really. They're like, we're not even bringing him to court. He's fine.
Well, he was at court with Kirk that whole time. And he was found guilty, therefore he can't be killed. Oh, Star Trek.
Well, yeah. 1966 TV. Sometimes, and you know what, honestly, sometimes a lot of Star Trek episodes kind of just end. There's kind of one last sentence of something getting wrapped up, and then it's kind of like, okay, we're going to let you think about that for a while.
Well, it's 1960s TV in general. It has to be done at the end of the episode. Everything has to be back
Right,
to
yeah.
reset
Oh,
normal.
yeah.
So,
Yep.
like, it's just how the era. Again, we've talked about it a couple times, but like, it's just how television was done back then, right? So, I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like I don't want to give it a 7. I feel like 7.5.
Oh, that's lower than you gave the Cage.
Did I give The Cage an 8?
Yeah, you did.
I was more excited to get going. Now now I know where my 8s. 8 is like my baseline, and I operate up and down from there.
I'm actually going to give it higher.
Okay.
I like it a lot. I really do think that it did fix a lot of the stuff that I didn't like about the Cage.
Good.
So I'm going to give it an 8. I'll move up a whole point.
Okay, cool. Man, I always want to change my answers. Maybe I should give it an 8.
Stick with what your gut goes to, I think.
All right, 7.5. Good, and that's The Cage. I mean,
Ooh.
no, it's not.
I do like that they called it the name of it in the middle of the episode. That was cute. Where they're like a menagerie or a cage.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I like that they took that as a name. I think it was a really smart way to go about it, you know?
Yeah, and it's very cute that we get that, we get that line and the title check of both episodes. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. I'm just updating the thing to match the fact that we're doing them as one episode, because I hadn't done that yet.
Right, well,
I'm just going to get rid of the extra line altogether, I think, because it's all the same information, you know?
Okay.
There you go.
Let me say thank you, as always.
As always, to you as well.
Yeah. Oh no. I'll clip that out. Maybe. If I remember. Yo, thank you for listening to The Least Ready Room, a Star Trek podcast where Dave and Chris, I'm Dave, watch every single episode of Star Trek. Let's see here. Let's talk about the question of the week. We didn't have huge responses for this one because, this was one of our... If we don't feel like we have a specific question, then it might have had to do with me being really pooped at the end of last week when I was editing the last episode. But I used... we have some questions that are generic questions that don't go along with any episodes. And since I didn't know what to ask about the old Menagerie, I asked one of our... I took one off the generic list. The question is a simple one. Which vessel in Starfleet would you like to serve on and why? Alex says, can I say none? Because fuck the Federation? There you go. Locke says, I want to serve on the Defiant as a torpedo. And I was gonna ask him this, and I haven't. But is that the Benedict Cumberbatch movie? Is it called? Is he flying around on the Defiant? There's a couple Defiants. There's the Defiant that is like the main ship for the later half of the later 2/3 or whatever of DS9, but also I believe that maybe the first Federation starship that visited the Mirror Universe may have also been called the Defiant. There's another important Defiant. I don't know if it's the first one to visit the Mirror Universe or if it did, but there's a TOS Defiant that did something. Anyway, it also may be the one that Khan has in the movie with Benedict Cumberbatch. Wow. I'm not sure what I said. Yeah, it's staying in. It's still... I may maybe doing this on Sunday evenings, editing this podcast. We might change what day this comes out, because I'm always very used up by Sunday evening. But you know what? Like, honestly, really, at this point, I am... having very busy weeks and I'm pretty used up all the time. So let's fucking go. It's staying in. Locke also says probably the Cerritos, I guess. Which, yeah, let me think about this. I don't have like a response for me or for Chris. In fact, I'm doing a really bad job of making sure that Chris answers the questions. Although she has the opportunity to do so in Discord, obviously. But anyway, maybe I'll make more particularly sure that I ask her all of these. Yeah, I don't know about my answer. But anyway, the Cerritos is a good answer. Locke says, probably the Cerritos, I guess. Enterprise D would be rad, but things go pretty badly for the crew on the regular. And that's, yeah. It's really fucked up that there are children on the Enterprise D. DS9 isn't a vessel or in the Federation, but would be a neat place to stay for a while, and that's correct. Saint says USX Excelsior, Captain Sulu for the win. Does Excelsior get blown up, though? Okay, no, it does not get blown up. I definitely want to be on that one, says Saint. Man, I guess being on the Cerritos would be fun. It seems like they have fun. I don't know if there's a more... Did I say it has to be a Starfleet vessel? I sure wouldn't want to be on Voyager. I don't know. They get to hang out in that little Irish town with, like, fairy folk and stuff, so... And they get to delete the wife. Yeah. I'll remember to ask Chris what starship she would have liked to have been on. And thank you for listening to The Least Ready Room. It comes out roughly on the weekend sometime, most weeks. And you know where to find it because you found it already. You can find a link to my Discord on koyadk.tv and come and talk to us about all these things. And you can buy soap from me at lakehousesoaps.com. Talk to you soon.
Which episode is this already?
So I sort of... Oh, well, this is for the Menagerie. Basically, last week I knew the Menagerie was coming up, and I didn't really have a specific thing to ask about, so I used the generic one of which ship would you like to serve on?
That works. I just wasn't sure which episode this was related to is all, you know?
Yeah, it's not related to an episode, and I kind of the reason I asked you to come and record this really quick, like because I'm about to put it out. It's the episode's done, but I sort of felt like I don't always specifically make sure I get an answer from you. So this is sort of a I am going to intend to make sure I get a recorded answer from you and try to be a little more on top of that because I'm starting to get back into. I'm starting to feel more on top of things. Just
no worries. No, I know that for a while there you were, and then it kind of fell off, and I just kind of left it because we were also recording ahead, so the questions hadn't been figured out yet.
And it was sort of getting and it was getting a little bit. I would record a question from you, and I wouldn't be sure where I had actually asked that because we would have been talking about 3 episodes in advance. Now we're sort of like where. Now I kind of know where we are and where we should be.
Yeah, if you want, what we can do too going forward is because we meet up on Mondays and you put out the episode of the week that Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So like for example, the next one I'm expecting is like the conscience of King doesn't have a question on the spreadsheet yet. So tomorrow, if you've got a question for that episode for the week that you're going to ask everyone else, even though you and I are looking at recording tomorrow as yesterday.
Shit, I can ask you right now.
Yeah, we can do that. We can start doing it that way too, and just that way on Mondays you get that sound bite for the Sunday episode that week. You know.
Good. Yeah, and basically now I kind of know where we're gonna be. The question.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I was gonna say. So the question you asked me was which vessel would I most want to serve on in Starfleet specifically?
That's yeah, and I guess if you really were gonna tell me like a Klingon vessel or something like that, you could.
No,
If you really wanted to.
I honestly don't have a specific ship that I want. Because, like, I want, I don't have a specific ship because I have a type of ship I'd want to be on. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like, I want
okay.
to be on, sorry, are you recording yet? Do you want me to wait?
No, now no, I've been now, yeah. When I
Okay, we're
said
good.
let me hit record,
Okay.
that's when I hit
Nope,
it. So,
I'm just making sure
yeah.
before I start giving you all my quality content stuff. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
this is very high quality.
The highest of quality. But no, I'd want to be on, like, any of the sciencey ships that
Right.
aren't, like, I don't want to be on an Enterprise. I don't want to be on a frontliner. You know what I mean? I
The
want to be on one of the
flagship.
ships any of that stuff, any of
Yeah.
those out there getting their ass handed to them, giant guns, probably gonna
Frontier.
die,
Yeah.
stupid shit. I'd rather be on one of the ones that's, and not like the Cerritos, because the Cerritos is trying to be an Enterprise, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
like,
they're like a backup enterprise. They check on all of the
yeah, but I want to be on like one of the more like I want to be on one of the more chill background ships, like what Christiali was on back in the day. You know what I mean? Like I want to be
Oh,
on one of the ones that aren't getting in combat. They're just doing their little research thing, just learning about space and meeting people and like Enterprise light. I want to do all the same kind of exploration-y, sciencey shit, but I don't want to get in combat. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I just don't want to die on my ship. I'd rather be able to just enjoy um enjoy being in space if I'm going to be in space.
Yeah,
That
and
being
looking at new things.
Yeah, but that being said, like I'm also not a super. I don't think I'd want to do the space exploration in general.
Mm.
Um, I don't.
You don't
I
want to
can
go
see
to
my.
new dangerous places.
I can see myself if I joined Starfleet, I'd be trying to join Starfleet to do something on Earth or whatever planet I was born on. You know what I mean? Like their local chapter type stuff. That's what
Yeah.
I can see myself doing. On, in all honesty, is something that's local, something that is safe. I'm not a brave soul who's out there to die. I'm happy to do the paperwork. I'm a paper pusher. Give me paper.
Okay.
Um, and that's just because I'm a pussy and I know that. You know what I mean? I don't.
It's good to know about yourself.
Yeah, I have no interest in whatsoever in just I don't want to meet like the Jem'Hadar or the Road or any of that like
Right.
random shit that I don't know anything about, and we're just meeting them to be like, "Hi, please don't kill us," and they're like, "Oh, but you are prey." That has zero
Fucking
interest for me.
yeah. Wow, I definitely really agree with you. I said the Cerritos and kind of was not sure just because it seemed like an easy answer.
It's the easy answer in that it's not the Enterprise and it's a ship people know and it's still doing interesting things without being the Enterprise.
Sure.
Um, but at the same time, it's not a ship that I want to be on because they are still trying to be the Enterprise in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah, they're boldly going places and
Yeah, it's
getting
like
into trouble.
I don't hate the idea of Voyager, except that Voyager ends up in the Delta Quadrant.
Oh,
Like
Voyager's a mess.
it is.
I mean,
It
that's the last ship I'd want to be on.
it's the second last. Like I said, Enterprise. Enterprise is honestly the last. The Enterprise is honestly the last ship I want to be on, and I am talking like all versions of the Enterprise. It's a gorgeous ship. It's cool. I fucking love it. But especially under Kirk, that's a right out no because
Yeah,
Kirk is just that one isn't even trying to pretend that it's for peace. It's just out there being a military ship.
he's flying
Um,
directly into dangerous situations because he thinks it's funny.
he is, and then you look at TNG, Enterprise D and E and all that, and as much as they are trying to pretend that they're not a warship, they like by carrying all those families and stuff, like they're still just getting into shit. And under a Riker, it's so much worse. So
Mm,
like, yeah, just straight up no to the Enterprise.
yeah,
Like that is not a ship, and it's just because I don't want to die, and I know getting on those ships as prestigious as that would be, and like that's a huge promotion type thing. Like that's a if you're in that industry with a look to advance, that's the goal. No, I don't want that. But again, IRL, like real life, I was offered a possible manager job where at the place that I like my last place,
mm,
and I turned them down. And I straight up said to them like, no, no, I do not want a manager position. I want to stay at this entry level desk job. I do not want that level of like I don't want to be in charge of other people.
yeah,
And that's me as a person. Like it's not that I don't have ambition. I have things I want to do with my life. they aren't a workplace thing. I want that energy available for outside of the workplace, you know?
Sure. I
And it's
would.
important to know that about yourself.
Yeah. I
You would?
would. I would 100 times rather be on the Enterprise D than on Voyager.
Yes.
That's. I mean, Voyager. Yeah. I'm
In a
here.
lot of
I'm
ways,
hearing
yes.
you, but Voyager. I don't want to be in completely unknown space with no way to get anywhere.
Yeah, in a lot of
That's
ways I
scary.
agree with you on that one.
Mm.
The reason I like Voyager a little bit more than the Enterprise is because it's a smaller crew, it's a smaller ship, so it's easier to get it out of shit than Enterprises, even though Janeway doesn't know how to back down to save her
Right.
life.
Yeah.
But the ship itself is a little bit more suited for getting out of that, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
Um, that being said as well, I always felt like even though they are contemporary, that Voyager was the nicer ship. It has the like it's a more newer ship. It's got
It
the higher
is.
tech.
Yeah. It does. Yeah.
And that
It's
also is
got
a
the
factor
gel
where
packs.
it makes Voyager a little bit more enticing to me, where it is a
Sure.
nicer ship. Um, and honestly, lastly, I think I'd get on better with the Voyager crew than I think I'd get on with most of the Enterprise crew that we see.
That's very, yeah, that's actually, that is a good point. Yeah,
Yeah, I
considering
mean,
the crew you're going to be around. And that's
yeah,
kind of why the Cerritos is an easy answer too.
yeah. No, the Cerritos crew, at least at lower decks level,
Yeah.
is it looks like a
They
lark to
seem
be with.
they seem fun on every deck.
They do. I
I
mean,
think.
I love Tendi and I love Rutherford and all of them. Not so big on Ransom and the Captain, but they're still pretty decent. And Shax is a blast.
Shax is
Um,
funny.
he is. And I mean, it's hard for me to pick a favorite Doctor in the whole show because like that's usually who I like the best on any series. Um,
Oh, it's interesting. And there are this Star Trek's got some great Doctor characters.
it really does. Like, I was actually, it's funny. So real life, it's Mother's Day that we're talking about this. I came from my in-laws' house was this morning. And I'm not even gonna lie, like we were talking about Carl Urban versus DeForest Kelly as Bones earlier
Oh
today when I was
God,
there with my
Carl, but
sister-in-law.
yeah, Carl does, but it's go ahead.
Well, my
It's
point is that
amazing how good Carl Urban does, but it's
they are both so good at that character, and he's such a fun little character for being such a curmudgeon ass.
yeah,
Um, and then like, I mean, I'm not as big on Polanski because frankly, Polanski always bothered me, especially with the whole data versus data thing and just not getting that no, this is his name and names are important. And as an
yeah.
individual with an easy to know name who never has their name spelled or said correctly, that has always well, my okay, so my full name is Christina, right? And I've
Yeah.
always been called Christine. Um,
Oh,
and when I was a child, I went by Christy, and I kept getting Chrissy with no T, which always drove me at the wall.
I think
Because
there's
Chrissy
yeah,
always felt, especially as a kid, before I grew up and realized that I was being like I'm an idiot. But as a child, especially, Chrissy just felt like dumb Valley Girl blonde type of a name, and I'm like, but I don't want to be that. Don't call me that. You know what I mean? Like, I I
yeah.
had I had that aversion to it, and then like my name is spelled with an H, and it was always spelled by everybody else as CR, and it's
Oh,
and
do you
it's
ever get a
not a hard
K?
name. No, I didn't get the K, fortunately.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even. Yeah, I would expect it's either CH or K.
No, CR is really
CR
common.
for
And
a
so like
girl, maybe.
as a child growing up, having that in front of me where there's this person who's refusing to like say this character's very easy to pronounce name correctly.
Yeah,
Like it's such a small thing and names matter. And my name is not a vastly important name to me, except that nobody could be bothered to get it right, and it's such an easy name. So, like,
yeah,
for anybody who's got a name that is considered to be more unique or more difficult for you know people to say in general in the area that they're in, especially it's something that comes up a lot here with non-white individuals. So anybody who is a person of color who has a more quote unquote ethnic name. I use that in quotes on purpose because that is not what they are. They are your name. Do not put up with people's bullshit. If I can say fucking Star Trek words, I can say your name. Like, your name is important. Be proud of your name, you know? But that's where that comes from. So like Polanski was just a bit of a bitch. But I loved Crusher and I loved Wesley. You know, I absolutely loved what little of DS9 I've seen. I did love Bashir. And
Oh,
I absolutely
Bashir
loved the
is
Doctor.
great. Bashir is a
Yeah,
funny guy.
yeah, and like I loved the Doctor
Doctor,
on
incredible character.
Yep. Yeah,
Voyager.
I might not have been a big thank you. I might not have been a big fan of Phlox.
Flock's also
I,
great.
he's one of the better characters on the show. He's
Yeah,
not the
there
best
you
Doctor,
go.
but he is one of the better characters on that entire show.
Yep.
And that's been the case. Like Chapel was always excellent. What little I've seen of her in Strange New Worlds, she's been excellent. It's always the Doctor. I always end up getting drawn towards the Doctor. Always the Doctor.
I feel like
See,
they were trying to go with a thing with Pulaski where she didn't like Data kind of because of the way that Bones would rub it up against Spock and not like Spock being this cold Vulcan. Well, Bones would always be like, if you had human sympathy for these, dying men, whatever. But like, I feel like they tried to do that with Pulaski and Data, and I feel like it just came across because Data's so lovable. No
he
one
is.
wants someone being mean to Data. No one wants to see that.
Well, and it was honestly like I didn't hate her until the data thing.
Yeah, because she does it on
Like,
purpose, and she's a
well,
dick
yes,
about it. She's
because
like, "Who cares? You're not even a person."
well, like, and she's been corrected by Data.
Yeah.
In that episode, he corrected her at least once or twice, and I'm pretty sure I vaguely remember other characters correcting her too. But I mean, this is a memory from like 25, 30 years ago. It's hazy at best. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But she was corrected. She knew how to say it right. And she's just like, why bother? You're a robot. Who gives a shit? And it's like, because I'm sentient and I asked you not to.
Yep.
Can you have like the slightest, just the minusculest bit of decency and respect for somebody other than yourself, please? God, I couldn't stand her.
That actress, I believe, is on at least one episode of TNG or TOS.
Diana Muldaur. Her name is Diana Muldaur.
Did you have that ready to go?
I had already looked her up because he called her Pulaski and I called her Polanski, and I was confirming who was correct and how to say it. Pulaski.
Okay.
I said it incorrectly, but that's why I had it up to make sure that I didn't like that I knew what to say correctly going forward because you had corrected me.
Oh, I didn't even. I wasn't even aware of.
Oh yeah, no. And yes, no, she did. She was in 2 episodes of the original Star Trek. As I'm pulling up her IMDb right now,
As the same character?
No, she was in season 2, episode 20, Return to Tomorrow, where she played Anne Mulhall and Thalassa. Which I might be mispronouncing, and I do apologize if I am. And then
Sure.
season 3, episode 5, Is There No Truth in Beauty? She plays Dr. Miranda Jones.
So she actually plays 3 different characters. There's some kind of...
She does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something
So the last
interesting
one-
must be happening on Return to the Future.
Is there no truth? Is there in truth no beauty?
That's
Looks like
that's a crazy name for an episode. Just want to throw that.
It is. It is. It looks like she's supposed to be the aide to an ambassador, and there's some insanity with humans seeing Medusans, and she rejects Larry, a designer of Enterprise, and senses murderous intent nearby. So she's like a telepath in that episode, who's got her espers flying, you know.
And the designer of the Enterprise is named Larry.
Apparently.
All right. Oh, that sounds great.
And in Return to Tomorrow, she looks like she's dressed up as a yeoman. And the screen grab that they've got is like the thumbnail on IMDb.
Yeah. Back to the Future, basically.
Kind of. The Enterprise is guided to a distant, long-dead world where survivors of an extremely ancient race, existing only as disembodied energy, desiring the bodies of Kirk... Yeah, desiring the bodies of Kirk, Spock, and astrobiologist Anne Mulhall so that they may live again. And actually, you know what?
That happens on TNG, that exact thing.
I feel like that is supposed to be a play on another show spoofs that. Spoofing Star Trek, like actively trying to spoof. The way like Futurama did the whole episode about it. I feel like that's come up in another show as well.
Yeah,
no, even looking at the pictures,
entities.
she doesn't... young actress her and TNG her, I don't recognize her. She doesn't. She looks a little bit like it. That if you put them beside, I'd be like, yeah, it's the same person. But I wouldn't. Looking at her, I wouldn't guess it. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, 30 years go by and
Well, and she's got a perm.
oh yeah, no perm early. I mean that does make a difference. I
It
honestly
does.
like people. Sometimes people change their hairstyle, and it's like it's like a complete stranger.
Yeah. No. Looking at her as Pulaski, she's got a perm or very good blowout.
Hmm.
And looking at her back in TOS, she's
Yeah.
just got her regular hair up in an updo.
Okay.
So that's going to be a lot of it right there. Is the hair really does change, like
It
especially like
does.
it's like
Yeah.
Pulaski has it around her head a lot more, right? So it just
Right.
changes your head
Yeah.
shape. It affects it a lot.
And that's like that's
Yeah.
also maybe even more pronounced if you are me, and and
Yeah, you
people's faces just look like
you're
this
people in
weird
general,
smear.
man.
Yeah, I
Oh no,
think,
I'm
but a
thinking
lot of
like
people.
well, I'm thinking like because you go once a year, you just shave everything off, right? And you go from mountain man to baby face.
Oh yeah, I just did it. Someone at a show, the most not the one that just happened, but the one 2 weeks ago, someone came up to me and asked me where the young man was that used to run this booth, and it was because I hadn't shaved, and now I
Right,
have.
right. Well,
So I
now they'll
came
be
up
able
and
to find
shaved.
you. Chaos is like that too, eh? When he trims up properly, it's like two different people. And especially he shaves his beard off once every like 3 years at this point because
Ah,
like he's doing beard care and stuff so he can keep it longer before his face gets itchy, right?
okay.
And so even more so, like as soon as he actually shaves it all off, it's he's not a person anymore. He's a replicant. It's not Sean.
Fake Sean.
It's so fake. It's so weird. But at the same time, like that is a superpower that men have. You can go from being 50 to 10 overnight. Just shave off
Yeah.
your beard.
So I think I think I already asked you if you had to do a thing in high school where they made you memorize a Shakespeare passage. Did I already talk to you about that?
We've talked about Shakespeare when we did
Yeah.
The Conscience of King, and we talked about books that we had to read. I didn't have to memorize passages the same way that you did. I had
Okay.
to. We had to read from the books.
So I think the question of the week is going to be like, what is your favorite Shakespeare quote or passage or piece or play or whatever work of Shakespeare, and
Am
also
I okay?
and
And
also did
also,
you have to memorize a whole thing, a whole speech in high school like I did?
so my immediate question is:
Yeah.
does it have to be a specific passage or whatever, or can it be a specific reading?
Oh yeah. I mean, no. Yeah. I think the word adaptation should probably be in there as well. Yeah.
Okay, because
Like
if we're allowing readings, um, there's a movie.
and let's cut that right there because yeah, that's the question. The question is, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, I'll read it right from here. The question of the week is, what's your favorite Shakespearean performance or adaptation? Quote is fine too. Also, were you forced to memorize a passage in high school like me? And which one was it? So great. And we will, obviously, I've just cut the recording. We will pick up with Chris's answer, or we'll put Chris's answer somewhere in the episode that will come out next Sunday. And that's when I will talk to you all again. So thank you for listening to The Least Ready Room. Check me out on koyadk.tv and lakehousesubs.com. Come talk to us on Discord if you like, and answer the questions of the week if you like. And see you next week.